What should I do if I have tried everything to get along with my PE, but we're clashing and our working relationship is not conducive towards my learning?
I think what we said to this is to get in contact with us at any moment you have any worries about anything. And that's going to be the theme to answer all of these questions, is that Gail and I are here in any kind of support that we can, as well as your academic advisors and your link tutors. I think the main point that we put to this question is that when you're out in the workplace, you're going to have to learn to work with a variety of people, and you're going to have to look at your professional communication skills as how you can manage different relationships. You're not going to get on with everybody. Some people you'll get on better than others. I know it feels like there's added pressure because it's your practice educator who is assessing you. But as a student clinician, you really need to think about how you can problem solve and improve the communication channels for yourself with our support behind you.
If I have a problem which I don't feel I can talk to my PE about, please can I come to you?
I think this is probably our answer to every single question. Is if you have a problem, come and talk to us about anything, anytime, and sooner rather than later. It is always preferable and always better to fix problems before they've happened than to wait until they've turned into real problems. So even if you don't think it is a problem, but something is worrying you, come and talk to us. Don't hesitate.
In terms of placement assignments, what will happen if I do really well in practice, but I struggle to reflect this in words? Is it possible to make a PowerPoint or use another method to evidence my work?
First key message from me and Vicky is come and talk to us. Second key message is read the handbook. Please, before you go on placement, learn it off by heart, know it backwards. Remember that your practice educator is not going to have read it in so much detail. So be prepared to be able to talk it through with them. To answer the specific question, writing is an important professional skill. You do need to be able to communicate effectively in writing. You don't need to write poetry. You don't need to write elegantly. You need to be able to communicate effectively. Having said that, getting back to read the placement handbook, there are 4 pieces of kind of placement academic work that you have to do on your first placement. You have to do an activity analysis, a reflection, a CORDS visit report, if it is possible to do the CORDS visit, and then the final piece of work is for the university, which is what's it called, Vicky? Professional development report, reflecting on your placement experience. For your CORDS visit and your reflection and your the piece of work for the university at the end of the placement, they need to be written. For your activity analysis, it explains in the handbook that you've got a choice of formats for that. So yes, you can choose to do a presentation or anything else that is appropriate in your placement context, and you need to discuss that with your practice educator.
If I experience an event that I find traumatic, for example, seeing a patient pass away or hearing a harrowing story of abuse, then what should I do to keep myself safe? Is it okay to call you if my PE isn't available?
Yes, of course. We are here by email, by phone, most of the time, so you can call either one of us. And the other thing to think about is to look at, if your PE isn't available, who else in the team is available for you to talk to, who might have understood the situation on a more level than we might have done. So more often than not, you are within a team rather than with a singular OT. So I would advise going to another senior member of the team who will be happy to support you. And just on that point, it's okay that you're human, and it's okay to be affected by difficult situations, and your PE would expect that of you. So don't feel that you are not coping on placement because you have been affected by something that is upsetting, and it's actually showing a stronger level of character to go to your PE and say that I've been affected, rather than to pretend you're okay and to not have any emotion shown by you.
There's a specific area I would like to gain experience in. Can I form a connection with this area's therapy lead and then put you in touch with them?
I'll go.
Go on, Vicky.
We would ask anyone to come to us first before you make any contact with any practice educators. Our communication channels with placement providers are really key in us keeping our capacity and keeping our placements open to us. And if we had many students contacting many placement providers, it becomes unprofessional and unwieldy to manage. So come to us and we will discuss any opportunity that is available, and we'll be really happy to find somewhere new to place you. But we do ask you come to talk to us first.
What is your best piece of advice for students about to start their first placement?
So Vicky and I had a chat about this, and we're unanimous in our response, and that is that the key thing is attitude. So go on placement, both being and showing that you are keen, eager, willing to learn, enthusiastic about the area that you're in. Going back to my previous comment, know the handbook, be prepared to talk your practice educator through the handbook. Be proactive, look out for learning opportunities. And the other thing we want to add here is be aware that of the context on which you're going on placement at the moment. Your practice educators and the multidisciplinary team you've been working in have been working in a really stressful context for the last year. So just be mindful of that and try to find ways to make your own contribution to what is a very challenging time in healthcare right now.
As professionals who, in our eyes, have obviously done very well, how do you think experience on placement will apply to our future workplace?
It's a slightly tricky one to answer this. OT is a wide varying profession, and there are a huge amount of different placement areas that you could work in. You have 3 placements within your course, and that isn't the whole breadth and depth of what OT can provide for you. So you might find you go into an area and you really love it and you decide that that's what you're going to do in future. You might go to an area and think, I don't think this is quite for me, but that doesn't mean that you're going to not gain really good skills from being in that placement. So you will hopefully grow in your core skills as OT, and it will give you a small view of what is possible, but it's with greater experience when you're qualified that you might really find where you really want to be. I don't know if that answers the question. Does that answer the question?
Yes. With placement settings being very different, will some students be disadvantaged than others dependent on where they're placed? For example, a virtual placement versus being on a hospital ward.
I think the short answer to this is absolutely no, quite honestly and genuinely no. You will get out of your placement what you put into it. What you bring to the placement is going to shape and create your learning. There are not better or worse or they're not better or worse placements in themselves. Some students will absolutely love forensic mental health. Others will find that a very challenging environment. Students who have done more remote virtual placements have thoroughly enjoyed the experience that they've had. Other students have not enjoyed being in a hospital environment. So it's not only about the placement, it's also about you as a person, how you fit with the context that you're in. And probably over the course of your placements, there are some that you will enjoy more than others. But please remember that your attitude and your orientation to your placement is going to make an immense difference to what you learn and what you get out of it.
Can you remember how you felt before going on your first placement? How did you overcome any first day nerves, if you had any?
It's quite funny, this question, because it's such a long time ago that neither of us can really remember. But I don't really remember any first day nerves. It was just, as Gail and I said, it was part of the course, and it's just another module, and it's the most exciting part because it's when you're out in practice doing what you want to train to do. So I can't really remember anything that is useful at the present time.
I think for first year students, if it's any consolation, actually this is my perspective as a as one of your lecturers. Your fellow students might say differently, but my experience of students going out on placement is the first one is probably the most anxiety provoking because it is so new. Once you've done a placement, placements 2 and 3 are a little bit more predictable. You know what it is you're going into. You know you've managed well on your first one, so it just feels a little bit less scary. But Vicky's right. It's just another module. It's like all of your other modules. It's not a big scary thing.
Do you have a favorite placement experience of your own? And did this inform where you applied for your first job?
Are we going to tell the happy story or the unhappy story?
You can tell whichever one you want.
Yeah, you go first. Yours is funny.
Yours is encouraging. So I don't remember any particular favorite placement experience. The memory that stands out the most strongly for me on placement was on my very first placement in the acute hospital in Cape Town, where the head OT was an absolutely ferocious Irish woman called Miss Pitt. And she told me not to waste my time and money on 4 years at university, as I was clearly unsuitable for the profession. My misdemeanor was to be sitting on a table, and that was bad enough. So she told me to get off the table. But the thing that really sunk it was I then explained to her why I thought that sitting on this particular table at this particular time was perfectly acceptable. So what I would recommend to you is just be a little bit judicious in your choice about when you're going to argue with your practice educators. I think I finished the course just to prove her wrong.
Well done, Gail. Thank you. Vicky, your encouraging one.
So my first placement was in just an acute district general hospital, and then there was an OTA job there in the summer. So I went back to them to work as an OTA, and then it was my first employment when I graduated. So it was really beneficial to me, and I guess. I worked in the place that I wanted to be in, so the area that I wanted to be in, and I think the area where you work has quite a big thing to it. So I was lucky, and it all fitted into place nicely for me.
Is it okay to not have a clue what area I want to work in by the time I graduate?
Can I say, if anyone had told me a few years ago that I was going to be a lecturer at Oxford Brookes University, I would have fallen over and think, what earth are you talking about? That would never have been my career path. So it's completely okay to not know where you want to go. Your career will take you in the path that you decide at the time, and you might change your mind several times. And that's the real benefit of OT, is that you can do that because you can work in several different areas.
Is there anything else that you would like to say?
They were really good questions. They were lovely and interesting, and they made both of us think. And Vicky and I are both so appreciative to the students who have contributed to all of the whole Q&A project and getting this together. It's a fantastic thing that you've done and a wonderful resource, and we're really grateful for all of the effort and energy and time you've put into doing it, and the way as students you're supporting each other is brilliant.
Thank you.